On Memorial Day, every year, we remember all the people in the military who have died while serving to protect our country. When I was in the Air Force, we would have a parade on Memorial Day. We would all be lined up in our squadrons. There were 40 squadrons of over 100 people each, so there would be over 4,000 of us standing there in uniform at attention. Then before we would start marching, the announcer would call out the names of all those who had died in the past year, and someone from their squadron would yell out in response, "Absent, sir!" I have to admit, I would hear a lot of people standing there in formation, sniffling and crying a bit for their friends who had died. I also know that many would be saying a silent prayer for their friends to be taken quickly into heaven. Did you know that there are soldiers who are priests? And other soldiers who are ministers for those who are not Catholic? Because soldiers have to go into battle far away from their homes, far away from their churches or parishes or synagogues, the military has priests and rabbis and other ministers who go wherever the soldiers go, so they are there to help them spiritually. Just like there are doctors and nurses who go with the soldiers to help them physically. These priests and rabbis and other ministers are called chaplains. Let me tell you about 4 courageous chaplains who gave up their lives so that other soldiers could live during World War II. One was a priest, one was a rabbi, and 2 were Protestant ministers. The 4 chaplains' names were Rabbi Alexander Good, Reverend George Fox, Reverend Clark Poling, and Father John Washington. They were all officers in the Army with the rank of First Lieutenant. These 4 chaplains are also known as the Dorchester Chaplains. The Dorchester was a ship carrying troops from the United States to fight against the Nazis. Nazi submarines would try to sink the ships that came from the United States. They would try to attack at night when it was harder to see them. It was winter when the Dorchester was sailing through the North Atlantic Ocean, and the water was very, very cold, only a few degrees above freezing. That's why on February 2nd, the 10th day of their voyage, the captain warned all the troops over the loudspeaker, "Men, we have detected submarines in the area. It will be very dangerous tonight, so sleep with all your clothes on and your life vest on too, in case we get hit with a torpedo and have to abandon ship." Well, that night they did get hit with a torpedo. But most of the men had not done as the captain had ordered. Many were just sleeping in t-shirts and light pants because it was very hot on board the ship. And the torpedo knocked out the electrical system, so none of the lights worked, and in the darkness they could not find their coats or their clothes or their life vests. As many of the troops ran in panic up to the deck to the lifeboats, the chaplains were all up there already calmly handing out life vests, even giving away articles of their own clothing to others before sending them to the lifeboats. The ship was sinking rapidly. The chaplains prayed for the men who were rushing by and told them they must all leave the ship even if they could not get into a lifeboat. They said they should jump off the ship and swim away as quickly as they could so that when the ship would finally sink completely, they would not be sucked down with it. But some men were so scared that the chaplains actually had to push them off the ship just to save their lives. Finally, all 4 chaplains even gave away their own life vests. In the end, the chaplains never left the ship. One survivor said, "I was on a life raft when the ship rolled over. That's when I saw the 4 chaplains who had climbed up on the bottom of the ship. They were standing arm in arm." Other survivors said they heard them praying in 3 languages: English, Hebrew, and Latin. Congress created a special medal for these brave chaplains, and all over the country monuments and stained glass windows have been created in their honor. February 3rd has been declared For Chaplains Day in many places. This Memorial Day, why don't you say a prayer for these 4 chaplains and for all the other soldiers who gave up their lives so that others might live? As Jesus himself said to his apostles at the Last Supper, "Love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends."